Recently, while reading again, Book 1 of the Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East, I was deeply struck by an experience that the author, Baird T. Spalding, shared, that he and his research group went to a village that had a healing chapel, healing temple there, totally dedicated to healing. And it's open to all people at all times. Now, they spent 3.5 years in the Far East with these unascended masters, and this was one of their journeys and treks that they took. So this comes from Volume 1, Chapter 9. It begins with this story, and it reads, "Located in this village was the healing temple. It is claimed that only words of life, love, and peace have been given expression in this temple since its erection. And the vibrations are so potent that nearly all who pass through the temple are instantly healed. It is also claimed the words of life, love, and peace have been used and sent out so long from this temple, and the vibrations emanating from them are so strong that should the words of inharmony and imperfection be used at any time, they would have no power." We were told that this is an illustration of what takes place in man. If he would practice sending forth words of life, love, harmony, peace, and perfection, he would in a short time not be able to utter an inharmonious word. We attempted to use inharmonious words and found in each instance that we could not even utter them. The force field of this temple reminded me of the Catholic Church, which I was raised in. And I went to Catholic grade school. We went to Mass every morning before we went to school. And the force field of the churches at that time, the Mass was still in Latin. You did not walk into the church and just start talking or laughing or anything. You walked in to complete silence. If you had to talk, you'd whisper or talk in a low, respectful voice of the force field. You could feel the energy of all the prayers that have mounted over decades in the force field of the church. The power of silence was very, very noticeable. Now, the next thing that stood out to me about this striking statement was that the vibrations emanating from this temple were so strong that you couldn't even speak words of inharmony and perfection. And that this is what takes place in man. This is what takes place in us. So imagine if you spoke and put out vibrations only of life, love, peace, and gained such a momentum on that you couldn't even utter words of inharmony or imperfection. It's a simple formula, is it not? Take a minute right now, imagine and feel the vibration you would live in where you too do exactly this. Yes, simple, but not necessarily easy. So how do we go about doing this? We're going to look at 5 keys to God mastery from 5 different masters that will help us to achieve this level of self-mastery. The first key comes from Saint Germain, and he gives us a very straightforward instruction on this topic, which comes from Unveiled Mysteries, page 109. He says, "Allow me to suggest that you train yourself never to be surprised, disappointed, or your feelings hurt under any circumstances, for perfect self-control of all forces within you at all times is dominion, and that is the reward for those who tread the pathway of light. For only by correction of the human self can mastery be attained. Remember always that the right to command, which is dominion, is only permanently retained by those who have first learned to obey, because he who has learned obedience to the law of the one becomes a being of cause only, and that cause is love. Thus, he in reality becomes the law of the one through the quality of similarity. Watch so nothing goes out from you except that which is harmonious, and do not allow a destructive word to pass your lips, even in jest. Remember, you deal with a force of some kind every instant of eternity, and you are its qualifier at all times. So let's unpack this a bit. Train yourself never to be surprised, disappointed, or feelings hurt under any circumstances. Is he talking about suppressing your emotions and building that energy into your unconscious, subconscious that'll explode one day and needs to be transmuted? I think not. Rather, train yourself not to react to the emotional states around you or anything you may encounter. In other words, you may have slings and arrows coming at you, or things may not work out how you expected, or someone does something completely to surprise you or betray you, unexpected attitudes, but you're still able to remain in your Christ consciousness and respond or not respond from that level of your being. He says, because he who has learned obedience to the law of the one becomes a being of cause only, and the cause, love. Again, you're in that higher vibration. You remain in the oneness with your Christ self, and you are putting forth, you are love, emanating love. He says, do not allow a destructive word to pass your lips, even in jest, because we are qualifier at all times. Well, how many times do we go about our day just simply chattering along? Oh, I'm tired today because I have this ailment, because I'm overwhelmed because of all I've got to do. My boss is this and that, and he said this, she said that. Whatever the circumstances may be. And that's the key word, circumstances. It's not you, it's not your emotions, unless you allow yourself to emotionally interact with your circumstances, rather than just be the Christ in the middle of your circumstances, just like Jesus was. We are, remember, the qualifier at all times. The second key comes from Kuan Yin, from her dictation during the conference, Sine Wave to the Sun, a retreat to the inner self. This is 1981. She says, as I meditated with the goddess of wisdom before coming to speak to you, and with the lords of karma, who are most concerned for the protection of our chelas and their advancement on the path, beloved Theosophia said to me, why not give them in this hour of illumination's expansion this illuminating word on why it is necessary to pursue God mastery with striving as the parallel line to the daily balancing of karma. She says, do not then confuse balancing of karma with God mastery, except when you pass beyond the 51%. And only by God mastery can you meet and conquer those foes that come out of the very pit itself, out of the depths of Hades and across the astral skies. Blessed heart, step by step, the flame of God mastery is won. But I will tell you a key that is on the mercy ray as a twin flame flower to this illuminating discourse. The key to mastery of the low-grade levels of irritation in your life is love. A love so great, a love whose contact is so real, with me for one, with God where I am, with every ascended sun. A love so great that you cannot leave the bliss of our oneness to go out into the dark night of astral discord or the irritation that is grating of the discarnates and demons. Love then is the conquering of the path, an effulgent, overflowing mercy for all life. This is not mercy with evil or the evildoer. It is always mercy for the light locked in the very atoms of being everywhere. Mercy for God imprisoned by human hate and hate creation. And what she's saying, we know that there's only God. All comes from God. He's the one source. So no matter whether someone is out picturing evil or doing evil things or making mistakes, whatever, the mercy is for as she says, the light locked in the very atoms of being. Mercy for God imprisoned by human hate and hate creation. That's a beautiful clarification. And is this not the mindset that we should have when we're giving our judgment calls or challenging the fallen ones? She goes further. You can love God so much at the very center of each part of life that you remain unconcerned by the most outrageous manifestations of anti-life and anti-God. They're all around you. I need not remind you of the betrayers of our flame, but only to show you that it's better part of wisdom not to play their game, not to meet them on their field of discord and briars and barbed wire and land that is mined, waiting to trap those who misplaced courage, places them on the field where they ought not to be. This is again just describing what we were talking about of not becoming emotionally involved in circumstances, but instead let them be directed to the heart of Shambhala, to the heart of the inner retreat. Let mercy exalt you. Let mercy's flame exalt all the earth in her evolutions, out of the very pall of bitterness, out of unreality that shall not endure. And yes, we do see all around us the outrageous manifestations of anti-life and anti-God, but she is teaching us how to not become embroiled in it while still dealing with it. The third key comes from beloved Aramis and Diana, who also spoke at that Sine Wave to the Sun conference. Now, their opening line in their dictation was, you have yet to understand the principle of God mastery. They say, you see, all is life, all is living, all is flame, and you can gain new dimensions of ascendancy right here and now, for the ascension process requires it. The great cosmic law demands it, and your hearts are not content to remain in the old order. See then that you forsake not this calling. See then that you understand that there can be a parallel manifestation of God mastery. Indeed, how can there be God mastery? Within, when all about you assails. And if you allow the assailing of the word against the very bastions of your own fortress of light, then there's not really God mastery at all. Let me repeat that. They're saying, if you allow the assailing of the world against the very bastions of your own fortress of light, then there is not really God mastery at all. So in other words, the victim mentality is not God mastery. There cannot be a flaming heart of light without balance in the heart, nor can there be the manifestation of the avatar unless you conquer the world simultaneously. And therefore, the call of Saint Germain and the answer of the 4 and 20 elders is that if the planet is to move forward in the evolutionary chain and rise and feel the proximity of the violet planet and its etheric matrix, there must be the conscientious outpicturing within you of the one-upon-one relationship, alpha and omega mastery, here and there, within, without. There must be a pushing back of that which comes upon you to limit the fullest expression of the Godhead, which is allowed. And it is allowed in this age. So we say, look up and lift your consciousness, for above you is a vacuum, and it is hallowed space provided by the Buddha. The up is the accelerated matrix. It is therefore a canopy of the emerald matrix of your own God self. And from that emerald matrix, there is then a compartment into which you may grow. There's a place to which you may go. There is a room in the inn of your being for a higher expression of God and its externalization in your life. And so we say again and again that the harmony of God is the key, clinging to that harmony in the very face of the eruptions of the putrefaction of imperil. May I say, let all rise to the occasion, for truly it is an occasion. Occasion in the sense of opportunity. Opportunity in the sense of ceremony. Ceremony in the sense of the soul rising to the occasion of the descent of the Lamb. This teaching triggered in me also a memory of an experience that I had when I was younger. And it was the day of my second son's graduation from high school. And we were all there. My family was there. My mother and father were there also. And this comment of the Buddha and looking up and going to this space is relevant to this story. That day, we decided we'll just go out and we're going to, during the day before the ceremony at night, we were going to go out and ride some horses. Horses I had never ridden before. When we got there, they said, okay, you can have the biggest guy because he's very gentle and, you know, the other one's a little bit frisky. So I remember getting on the horse and I remember thinking, I wonder if he's rein trained or, you know, how's he used to being ridden? Well, I didn't have to wonder very long because just a few little steps around the corral and this horse took off at the highest speed toward the fence of the corral. And I remember thinking, he's going to jump that fence. I better get prepared. Well, that isn't what happened. When he got to the fence, he stopped, but I didn't. And I went flying over onto the ground up on the other side of the fence. Now, here's what's strange. My family came running. My dad asked me, are you okay? And I said, oh, yes. And I got up. And what's really strange, though, is I didn't remember any of that. That's what happened, but I didn't remember it at the time. What I did remember was all of a sudden, I didn't remember them asking me how I felt or anything. All of a sudden, I was standing there with everybody, whatever they were doing. I woke up. I came into my body standing there. And then my other son was saying something about somebody got thrown off a horse. And I said, who got thrown off a horse? And they said, you did. And my dad said, I knew you weren't right when I went to get you. He says, but when you flew over that fence, it was like someone was carrying you and you just flopped down. And I had no injuries, no broken bones. I did have bruises, but nothing. And eventually the memory of all this came back to me. But the reason I'm sharing this is because that experience of waking up in my body was quite amazing. And it reminded me now, is this what Gautama Buddha experienced under the Bodhi tree? Was his meditation all those days moving him up and up and up? And then he just gently wakes up into a new dimension of the God consciousness, God awareness, wakes up. When he was asked, who are you? He said, I am awake. And he said, I see things as they truly are, that higher dimension. So is that what we're doing day by day as we pursue the path and we purify ourselves? We're moving up, moving up, moving up. And just in like a twinkling of an eye, we wake up in a new dimension. Lots to think about. The fourth key comes from beloved Vesta. She tells us, it is possible to live in eternity here and now. And this is from her dictation in 1977, December 29th. She says, beloved ones, if you're thinking about the past or the future, you are nothing in the present. For you have lost your attention upon the now. The now is eternity where I am. Now I am the indestructible one. And therefore I was the indestructible one yesterday, and I shall be the indestructible one tomorrow. Now I am a being of love's promise fulfilled. Now I am setting the cycles of quadrants of being. Now I am drawing the extremities of your manifestation of time and space. Now I carve eternity, and therefore yesterday and tomorrow are mine. Blessed ones, understand, if you begin by saying, yesterday I was, tomorrow I shall be, then you must conclude that today you are nothing. You must dwell then in eternity. Eternity is now. Time and space are only relevant in reference to yesterday and tomorrow. Beloved ones, you must understand that it's altogether possible for you to live in eternity here and now. Do you have any doubt that your messenger lives in eternity? We do not, for we observe the cycles of the freedom of her movement in and out of the central sun, timelessness, spacelessness, and not the awareness of yesterday's or tomorrow's, but always the ever-present mastery. This is a qualification of your own Christhood. And I can testify, having worked with Mother while she was still with us, that there were many times that she was, you could definitely tell, in different dimensions. See then how the ascended masters set this example and how they have allowed then the messenger to embody their consciousness so that you might observe one who moves in free form in and out of these cycles and therefore perplexes your sense of time and space and therefore lends to you the grace of your yesteryears and your tomorrows, not as fears, not as a torment to the deep, but as the light that shines in the darkness as a giant beacon of the I Am Presence. The I Am Presence, the Lord of Lords in the universe, the universal will, wisdom, power. And I can attest also that yes, sometimes that did perplex our sense of time and space. She says, visualize your own I Am Presence, a perpetual turning beacon, a perpetual turning beacon. Think of that. The beacon blazing into all areas of time and space, and by the gaze of the all-seeing eye of God, transmuting all that pretends to be compartmentalized as the sorrows that have gone before, our past, as the fears of sorrow in the morrow, the future. Blessed hearts, I would heal you of your awareness of time and space, even as I would seal you in the God mastery of time and space. This is not a dichotomy. This is the victory of the diamond point of eternity. To be the scientific wielder of the rod of power, the energy, the fohat, released by the keys of the mudras of the mother. Wherever you go, wherever you walk, wherever you speak the word of God, be the pillar of fire. The pillar of fire has the single attribute of non-attachment. It is the fire enfolding itself. Therefore, be the pillar of fire as that sun that shines upon the just and the unjust. Be the energy that releases the sacred trust and moves on, blessed ones, attachment neither to bliss nor to pain, neither to those who compliment nor to those who criticize, but only giving of the immortal fount of God wisdom, love, and power to all. Be a great giver of life in this octave and within a great receiver of the light from octaves above. And do not reverse, beloved ones, and seek to gain from this life that which only God can return to you. Attachment to the things of this world is a binding karma that brings attendant suffering and does not allow you that perfect mastery whereby you can be all things to all people in the time of transition. Understand then that as you walk the earth as a mother, and as you say, my heart is a sacred fire, a crystal of the mind of God. I am the indestructible one. You, beloved ones, cannot have one thing added unto you of the things of the world that will add one measure to your stature in the kingdom of God. As you gaze upon the earth then, and listen to this, this is very unique. As you gaze upon the earth then, understand that the earth herself, with all elemental life, her teeming evolutions, is but a chalice that God has placed into your hands, that you might pour the essence of his love into that chalice. Have you ever thought of the earth as being a chalice that we are meant to pour God's love into? I had never thought of that thought form before. She says, be the great giver of life, and as the great giver, free yourself from all strife, all attachment. And know that the star that will be placed in your crown will be placed there by Helios, by the All-Father, as a sign of your victory, won by giving again and again of the light from the source. Therefore, if you would receive every good and perfect gift, look then to the Father of lights, in whom there is neither variableness, neither shadow of turning. Beloved ones, receive from God life, comfort, the discipline, of the rod, the greenery of the springtime, the joy of summer, the waves of infinite light. And let all these good and perfect gifts be translated to you in the materialization of the God flame, in the personification of God as friends and loved ones, and in all the things that become crystallized in mater, because the Father always makes his gifts practical through the Son and through the Holy Spirit, focalized in the mother flame. Seek then, and ye shall find, but let your seeking be in the white fire core of the central sun, and see how God will give to you all that is required for you to assimilate day by day the essence of the light, whereby you too shall become a son. So we have to ask, what exactly is keeping us from our mastery? What weighs us down that we can't break some of the momentums that we probably don't even know that we have? Well, Kuan Yin has just told us that it's only by God mastery that you can meet and conquer those foes and the energies that come out of the very pits of death and hell. Michelangelo, the great artist and sculptor, spoke of how he would carve a figure from a block of marble. He said, "I saw the angel in the marble, and I carved until I set him free." I've always thought of this as a perfect analogy of what we're actually doing in the planes of matter, that we are carving away that unreal self. We are balancing our karma, transmuting until the entire being of our Christ self comes forward and shines forth. But think about Michelangelo carving this statue, and he gets to 51%. Can you see the entire angel? No. So 51% is our goal to balance karma, but the masters have told us to balance as much karma as you can while you're embodied. And it's easy to think, hey, I'll do it when I'm ascended and, don't have the human condition to deal with. But they remind us that people you have karma with on earth, they won't see you, they won't hear you, they may not even believe you exist. So it's not as easy as it may sound. Now, this leads us to the fifth and final key to our God mastery, the violet flame. Now, some of you may be familiar with a series of booklets called A Special Dispensation. These are communications from a husband of a keeper of the flame who passed on, the husband passed on. And he was a keeper of the flame while he was on earth. They lived in Glastonbury, a community outside of the mother church. And Moria called these a special dispensation because it's not necessarily something we normally do. And the information imparted was quite interesting on a variety of topics. And I want to read a couple of paragraphs from when he first crossed over. And this is his wife writing and speaking. When he first arrived on the other side, he told us that he was surprised to see how busy everyone was. A big orientation was in process, during which souls were shown what they had and had not accomplished in the life they had just finished. They were told to go to the right side or to the left side, depending on whether they were going to make their ascension or to re-embody. My husband was sent to neither side, but was left in the middle. He spoke to us of the importance of the violet flame. He said they gave it there regularly, and he wished he had given more violet flame degrees when he was here. He said things are very orderly here. There's a plan. Much work seems to be done by teams that support different evolutions of life on systems of worlds. It is more beautiful and peaceful than you can imagine, and yet it's a busy place. I keep learning and learning and learning. We are just exposed to the tip of the iceberg on Earth. We do not begin to access all that is possible for us to have. This takes the Christ mind. He also said that you remember everything you're taught. And then he spoke of the importance of service. I can't emphasize through the importance of service helping others. Service that is given from the heart is the equivalent of money in heaven. I am so grateful for every time I help someone because it is part of the reason that I am allowed to study at this retreat. It helps you tremendously to have served life. Service transforms the server. Pure, motivated service is like light. People should look for ways to serve and not always be served. We have talked a great deal about the heart flame since my arrival here. Power must be tempered by love. Love should be our immediate response to all people, not judgment, not hatred, not envy, only love. Then he talked about decrees, another topic. He said it's like fuel in your tank, and it prevents many negative things from happening while allowing other positive things to happen. He said, we can look down and immediately tell those who decree from their hearts they have an extra light about them and protection. It's important to know that many keepers of flame do not exude this light. They try to hide behind decrees, but they're not honest with themselves or with God. You cannot gossip 1 minute and decree the next. You cannot hate and yell in anger 1 minute and decree the next. All of these habits are indications of an unresolved psychology. It's a fascinating read, the 3 volumes, if you ever have an opportunity. Key number 5 comes from Elohim, Arcturus, and Victoria. They spoke of the violet flame at the Easter retreat of 1993, and they also announced that they are going to start tours again of the violet planet. They said, I'm going to take you on tours once again. I'm going to take light bearers who make it to the universities of the spirit in the etheric octave on tours to the violet planet. I want you to see with your very eyes, your spiritual eyes and your spiritual senses, what the violet flame can do for you day by day and what you can do for planet Earth. All rests in the hearts of those who become true believers in the violet flame. Now, many of you believe you're true believers, but beloved ones, true believers will truly do more when they see daily and nightly on the news and in the papers the catastrophes that are happening everywhere. And then he went on in the dictation to talk about current conditions at the time in the world and asking, have you made calls on these situations? He says, well, beloved ones, if you have not, I understand. For I see clearly that the violet flame has not sunk deeply enough into your being and consciousness to absolutely convince you that your voice giving the violet flame calls will make the difference, and that those calls shall be multiplied 10,000 times 10,000, and that your mandate shall be carried out by all legions of the violet flame and those whom you send under Sanat Kumara and the 7 archangels according to the dispensation given. Yes, beloved hearts, seeing is going to be believing. And we're going to see to it that at some level of your being, both conscious and unconscious, you shall acknowledge the miracles of the very violet flame that you invoke. When an alchemist goes to his laboratory, if he does not perform the experiment, if he does not engage in alchemy, nothing happens. Well, if you do nothing, you will see nothing. And so the experiment must include your invoking the violet flame for a certain amount of time each day until you have a momentum building in your aura. After all, you're used to paying a price for a popsicle or a candy bar or a bottle of Coke. Why not pay the price through giving decrees to the violet flame for more violet flame to come along and multiply everything that is good and beautiful in your life and clean out of your life all that is not good and beautiful. Now, their message is very powerful, so I want you to hear a few excerpts from this dictation. They're chosen excerpts that relate to what we're talking about here. And it begins with a few seconds of music, just a few seconds preceding the dictation.
So you will decide whether the violet flame shall be for you the point of the springboard of your victory. So you will decide whether this vessel of chakras shall now be the 7 openings for the flame of violet fire to pass through as you allow yourself to be Krishna's flute. You will decide what the violet flame will be as the X factor in the turning around of your life, your economy, your outlook. Everything that happens to you in this world can be altered by the violet flame. Only you can decide. The violet flame C is in place. Om Ritas is in place. We, Elohim of the 7th ray, saturate the earth daily with violet flame dew. So, beloved hearts, you will decide whether the waters under the earth, whether the earth itself, whether all this pollution that is killing wildlife and killing the bodies of human beings, whether it shall be transmuted, whether it shall not. Somehow this human mind that carries the caste of the dweller on the threshold and the not-self does not quite believe, even in the minds and hearts of chelas, that the violet flame can do everything that you need to have done. It is the wonder drug of the century. It is the wonder flame, and it can make the difference in which way planet Earth goes. I don't care if you whistle the violet flame, sing the violet flame, jump and dance the violet flame, do circle dances to all of your music to the violet flame, create new music to the violet flame decrees. Whatever you do, make games out of it, do marathons out of it, whatever it is. Beloved ones, you have to get busy with exciting and innovative methods to bring that violet flame into every area of your life and to bring it there at the point where it counts with the science of the spoken word, your tongue, and your chakras. Thus, beloved ones, whether you are pleased or not with the actions of your representatives, no matter what the party, if you are not pleased, or if you are pleased, I tell you that Washington, D.C. needs the violet flame as much and more as any other city. There are ghettos, there is crime, there are drugs, there are mothers who mourn the loss of their children in gang warfares and in shootings. This is happening in the major cities of the country. What will put it out? Well, I tell you, what will douse those fires of hell that are coming right up out of the bowels of the earth is the violet flame. You have the violet flame in your hearts and souls on the surface, and you have the violet flame C in the center of the earth. You have legions of violet flame at your command. You know, beloved ones, many of you have seen the film Aladdin, and you've said to yourselves, well, that is just what I need. I need a genie. And then you've stopped and thought and said to yourself, wait a minute, I have a genie. El Moria is my genie. El Moria will do anything for me that I ask him to do that is within the will of God and that is the will of God. Well, Saint Germain is a genie also. So you have your genies. In fact, you have 10,000 times 10,000 genies. For look at all of the ascended masters and hosts of the Lord that will just hear one command from you when that command is qualified by the will of God, and they will answer and they will perform so long as that is the will of God and it is the cosmic timetable for that event. I give to you your own mouthpiece, and may you speak the full power of the violet flame. We are in joy, Arcturus and Victoria, ever ready to save planet Earth in answer to your command.
Saint Germain said that he made his ascension as a result of 1 million right decisions. And now Maury has told us a twinkle of mirth on earth is a good thing. So I want to share with you a sign that I recently saw that was posted in the yard. I don't know if it was a church or a business or what, but I thought it was pretty interesting and cute and apropos. It says, everything happens for a reason. Sometimes the reason is you're stupid and make bad decisions. So let us consider making right decisions. Let us review these 5 keys so that we can consider right now how you're going to put them into action. Even if it's just starting with 1, let your Holy Christ self give you that direction of where to begin. The first key was from Saint Germain. Train yourself never to be surprised, disappointed, or your feelings hurt under any circumstances. For perfect self-control of all the forces within you at all times is dominion. The second key was from Kuan Yin. Love then is the conquering of the path, an effulgent, overflowing mercy for all life. This is not mercy with evil or the evildoer. It is always mercy for the light locked in the very atoms of being everywhere. Mercy for God imprisoned by human hate and hate creation. The third key from Erasmus and Diana. We say again and again that the harmony of God is the key. Clinging to that harmony in the very face of the eruptions of the putrefaction of imperil. Key number 4 from Vesta. You can live in eternity here and now. Free yourself from all strife and attachment. And the 5th key from Elohim, Arcturus, and Victoria. Violet flame can do everything that you need to have done. It is the wonder drug of the century. In conclusion, I would like to read a passage from the Tao Te Ching, which of course is the writings of Lao Tzu. This is number 50. The master gives himself up to whatever the moment brings. He knows that he's going to die and he has nothing left to hold on to. No illusions in his mind, no resistances in his body. He doesn't think about his actions. They flow from the core of his being. He holds nothing back from life. Therefore, he's ready for death, as a man is ready for sleep after a good day's work. We give thanks to our beloved masters who have shared so beautifully with us this day, and we pray that we might accelerate day by day, moment by moment, in our own personal God mastery. Beloved Arcturus and Victoria, blaze your violet fire in, through, and around our entire consciousness, being, and world, and in, through, and around this entire planetary body. Hold us in the very heart of our beloved Gautama as we accelerate into the higher consciousness and the God mastery that we truly are. In the name of the Father, the Mother, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.